Welcome to Ellis B. Feaster's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
I love those jingles, and I love these two guys, Jim Elliott and Scott Woodside.
Good morning, Jack.
Guys, how are you?
We're fantastic, man. I'm still living in the Q107 house that was given away back in the 80s.
Well, we finally know who the winner is.
Right.
Yeah, no plumbing, no nothing.
Jim Elliott and Scott Woodside did a legendary morning show here. You just heard Dude Walker and Doug Limerick. We've had some amazing teams on this radio station, and they have the nicest things to say about you guys, and congratulations on your time here. When was the last time you guys were together?
When was that, Elliot? 87, 88? I don't know.
A little before that, now, early 86. We were together from August of 78 through springtime of 86.
And you were two of the guys who also made the transition between WPGC and Q107, which was, sort of, the goal was to go back and forth and keep upping the contracts.
Sure.
Well, yeah, Jack, back then they didn't have contracts. So when we were at WPGC, they said, we had dinner with the management at Q107, and they said, "Are you under contract?" And I said, "No, we work for the Marriotts. They don't do contracts." And they said, "Well, we do contracts. Here's a bunch of money. Would you like to jump ship?" And that's pretty much how it happened.
There you go. There's a story.
Jack, do you mind me asking?
Not at all.
What is the difference in, I'm not asking how much, but how much more did you make from what we call in the business crossing the street?
Ooh. Well, I know there was a $25,000 signing bonus.
What?
That was back then.
Elliot said, "We want the $25,000. We want to go to the Riggs Bank, and we want it in cash just to see what it's like to get $25,000.
Was that an option? Could I?
At the time was Ernie Fears, and he took us over to the Riggs Bank.
What?
Well, you worked for one of the nicest guys. Ernie Fears is the best, and I can't believe he took you over to Riggs Bank and did that.
Did you get an attaché case and take out the $25,000?
And then when we got back to his office, he said, "Gentlemen, do you realize both of you individually are making more than the President of the United States?"
That's true. That's true.
Well, that was an eye-opener back then.
One of the real kickers was that Hardin and Weaver had been, the kingpins of mornings,
right?
And they were there for 25 years or whatever. And here we come, the young whippersnappers. We come into the building, and we were working 5-day weeks. And Hardin and Weaver, after 30 years, were still working 6-day weeks. That really didn't sit well with Frank at all.
No, and I want to say it ruined our relationship with WMAL for years. They hated us down here because we had 5-day work weeks and they had 6.
They had to come in this Saturday. That is cruel and unusual.
It's funny. I rode up on the elevator every day with Jackson Weaver, and two of the nicest guys. They were the guys that I listened to, the first morning show team I ever heard. I grew up here in Washington, of course, and my parents listened to WMAL. And then, I don't know. They weren't the first team. There was not Bob, and out in L.A. Guys, help me. Who the long-tenured morning show in Los Angeles. But this morning show team, Bob and Ray, this morning show team concept obviously has not only stuck around, but now it's become the norm. Back then it was a little unusual and sort of deciding who would play what role. Did you guys ever go through that, deciding on roles, or did you just go in and do the show together every day?
Well, I had been there already. And so I was like, a disc jockey. Scott came in, and again, originally, as Dude and Doug were just saying, at first he did news, but it worked out so well, and the chemistry was so terrific that it became a 2-person show. Right.
So it wasn't initially ordained that, okay, these guys will be a team of co-hosts, that Scott will do the news and updates and Jim will host the show.
No, for a while. And back then there was a salary disparity between news people and on-air jocks.
Right.
So as the show continued to progress, I was able to get salary parity, the same as Elliott, because they kept saying, you guys are a team. And I said, well, if we're a team, let's pay as a team. And so we went on from there.
I hope the other members of the show aren't listening to this portion right now. I am
taking notes.
I hope that nobody else will
I'm sorry, what is this?
show it. I heard nothing. I think we've been off the air for the last 60 seconds.
Define that word. What did he say? Pay? What was that? I don't understand that.
So in the ensuing years since you guys left, of course, and then we eventually moved on to Mix 107.3. Jim, what have you been up to, buddy?
Well, basically, I got into the record business,
Right.
and I was vice president of promotion at Arista Records under Clive Davis.
How about that? I mean,
Wow.
come on.
That was a great gig. I arrived at Arista a week before they released the Bodyguard soundtrack of Kenny G's Breathless album.
Wow.
So that turned out to be a fabulous 8 years. Clive Davis is the best music man ever.
To remind people, that is the "I Will Always Love You" Whitney Houston
Right,
song that
right.
could not have been bigger.
Correct.
Yeah, we've had Clive on the air, and those of you who know the name or don't know the name, just know, I don't know, hundreds of some of your favorite songs came out of Clive Davis's genius in ability to sign and promote and market and work. He and Quincy and a few others really are. Amit Erdogan, who I worked for at Atlantic Records. So, yeah, Jim, that was a hell of a run. That must have been a lot of fun. It's fun to see the business from the other side.
That was great, and then after that, when they fired Clive, they fired me. It's part of our business on both sides of the fence.
Right.
And so I was 50 years old, and I started my own consultancy, and knock on wood, I've been doing that for 19 years. I analyze airplay for a number of record companies, and I work with presidents of labels, and it works out well, and I'm getting close to retiring. I mean, hell, I just turned 70, the process.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, but I gotta say, the years on the radio and being with Scott, the best years of my career, the most fun. You don't realize what you have until it's gone. And Jack, for doing this for over 30 years, hats off to you.
Thank you.
What a job, and God bless you. And I know you'll wind up at a wonderful place and continue to run, and that's wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that very, very much, Jim. Scott, and then you moved on from here, and I know you're in Atlanta. We stay in touch. What did you do professionally post Q107?
So when I left Q107, I headed up the Prince George's County Television as the general manager, created the format, created the studios and everything, and then I left, came to Atlanta, and was back in broadcasting for a while and teamed up with my old partner that I was with years and years earlier, and we did a classic rock and roll format, and one thing led to another. I got out of radio in 1997, had an opportunity to be the CEO of a Japanese stationery company for the U.S. division for 10 years. The economy went crazy, and so in 2007 I went from radio and television, let's say that, to cemetery and funeral.
Well, we all do.
Yeah, it seemed like a natural flow at the time, right? So,
one way or another.
Boy, that bit died literally.
So for the past 14 years, I've been a sales manager at Dignity Memorial, which is a large publicly traded company of cemetery and funeral, and I'm here in the Atlanta marketing area. So I have everything you need and not a damn thing you want, Jack.
Jim Elliott, Scott Woodside, two of the absolute best to have ever done this on the radio. They did it here to landmark ratings on Q107. Guys, I love you both as friends and as colleagues, and thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you for having us on.
You're more than welcome. Yeah,
Pleasure. Thanks. Two of the best. I mean, Hall of Famers, Jim Elliott and Scott Woodside. Elliott Woodside, here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show on Mix 107.3.
That is fantastic. Fantastic.
We're grateful. Thank you for listening today. If you want to check this out, we have live video at facebook.com/Jack Diamond Show. And if you'll be nice enough to like that or love it, sadly, at 7 o'clock tonight, all of the station's social media is going to disappear. So this is our final day as Mix 107.3. So please go there. My website will be available sometime over the weekend, but you can write and still stay in touch. JackDiamond.com. On Twitter, twitter.com/Jack Diamond Show. Jimmy, let's give your handles. We'll put all these up later, and we'll post them on Jack Diamond Show on Facebook.
JD, on Facebook, I'm Jimmy Alexander Radio. That's Jimmy Alexander Radio.
Right, Facebook.
And on Facebook, and then Twitter and Instagram, it's my name backwards, Alexander Jimmy.
Okay. Erica Hillary, love?
On Facebook, /Erica Hillary with one L. Pretty much Erica Hillary with one L everywhere.
Right. Blair, yell out, baby. Come on.
Producer Blair! Wow.
It's as simple as that.
Producer Blair, everywhere.
In the air and everywhere. One of my oldest friends in a couple of minutes in the business. In fact, we went to high school separately, but yet together. Is going to join us in a few minutes. Somebody who has joined us on a weekly basis. And we're moving into the Mix 107.3 days now. And at least for the moment, we're going to leave the Q107 days. But thanks again to Barbara Britt, who was my first co-host and partner, was on earlier. If you missed her, again, that video, you can start it from the beginning or catch up and just watch live right now. Rick Fowler, who was the music director and responsible. Rolling Stones here. We did promotions with Phil Collins and Genesis. The stories of Washington's involvement in the international music scene are unprecedented. Some firsts and some onlys happened here. Did you know Jackson Browne, Running on Empty, recorded at Merriweather Post Pavilion? I mean, you can go through this and find so many powerful moments.
And he was involved in the iconic Beach Boy concerts on the mall during 4th of July.
Initially, 500,000 people, up to 1 million people. That was Rick Fowler. Uncle Johnny, Night Jock and Q107 joined us. If you guys want to go back and rewind and check that out, Dude Walker and Doug Limerick were in studio with us, and just amazing having them here. Elliot and Woodside just on the air, and more next here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show, our final day on Mix 107.3.
Now, Mix 107.3 traffic.
eBay. I'm Angela Foster, Mix 107.3.
It's the Friday movie review. The Friday movie review. The review Cecily Nobler on the Jack Diamond Show.
Bum, bum. Out to Hollywood we go to our dear friend and movie reviewer. This is Cecily Nobler.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
You guys, I'm so sad. There's very few people I'd wake up this early for. This is, I don't like this.
We are so sad, too. I can't tell you. This is, it's a celebration, and I refuse to put my mindset or the show sort of in the morning mode.
No maudlin.
No maudlin, because, there's a lot to celebrate. We've been blessed to do something that we love and have always loved. Since I was a kid lying in bed in Harmony Hills, listening on the radio, Cecily, and I know your cousin brought you into at least this side of the business, Claude, and you do stand-up comedy, you've worked in movies, you've worked in the industry out there. An author, and thanks for all of your contributions through the years to our show. We really appreciate it, Cess.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. It has been an honor. I've known you for a long time. I've listened to you long before I was on with you, because I lived in D.C., as you know, went to American.
Right.
And I've listened. I mean, I'm a fan, but I'm a friend of you and all of you guys. And I know that we will, I'm just going to hit you up on Snapchat every day. So,
do that. Hit me up on Snapchat.
Yeah. He's a married man, Cecily.
All right, please. Cecily, I don't know why you're not on the big screen every day. You are beautiful. You're smart. You're funny. You've got talent. I love the stuff you post. What's your handle if people want to follow you, Cess?
Well, thank you. I'm on Facebook. I'm very active, like maybe too much. Like I need therapy.
No.
I'm just Cecily Nobler, and that's Nobler, Knobler.
Right,
Just my name. I'm on Twitter at Cecily Says Stuff. And I'm on Instagram. I'm on all the stuff. And I just say a lot of stuff that it's usually about the Real Housewives.
Yes.
Right. If you're not a fan, then you probably want to stay away from my Twitter.
Not a fan, but you got a couple over here. Erica and Blair will listen, wherever we go, you're coming. Just know that.
Oh, you bet I am. I'm going to show up live.
Yeah. Well, and you have, and we appreciate that very much. But thanks. You know, our now 18-year-old son, Connor, since he was a kid, has said, Daddy, I'm thinking about going to this movie. What did Cecily say? Asks every movie.
That's amazing. First of all, he shouldn't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Here's just a little inside scoop. I don't know. It's just a strong opinion. But I'm so happy to hear that. And I love you guys so much. I am so, like I said, honored to have been with you all these years, 15 years.
It's been a long time. Thank you for everything, Cecily. We'll talk soon.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Love you, girl.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Oh, she has to say it for one last time, Cecily.
Okay. Oh, that hurts my heart.
Live from Hollywood, I'm Cecily Nobler.
Tonight on Q107's Live Line. It's showtime. You know, movies are part of everyone's life, and no one knows more about them than Channel 4's Arch Campbell.
I saw a movie so bad that the only other person watching it was the projectionist. And he was asleep. I know he was asleep because the film was out of focus.
We'll ask Arch to give us a sneak preview of the season's new movies.
I like a lot of the stuff I've seen so far. There's a few clunkers here and there, but hey, that's showbiz.
Also joining us tonight is Ernie Johnston Jr. from Ernie Johnston Advertising here in Washington.
Washington really has become known as Hollywood on the Potomac because we've made a real concerted effort to make Washington more accessible.
Our show on movies wouldn't be complete unless we had a Hollywood-type producer in our studio. Carol Fleischer knows firsthand that sometimes business can be fast or slow.
I think it goes in spurts. Sometimes we're real busy, and other times it's real quiet. I refer to Washington as a boutique town, boutique film town. We have what we have, all of the monuments, and if your show has anything to do with Washington, you can't shoot it anywhere else but here.
And we'll get the inside scoop on what actually happens when the film crews arrive in town.
They come into Washington and stay in Washington-based hotels. They use a lot of city services, which they pay the overtime rate. So the taxpayer does not incur any cost for us supporting this industry.
That's Crystal Palmer, Director of the Mayor's Office of Motion Picture and Television Development. It's quite a group, so get out your popcorn. Movies. That's tonight's agenda on Q107's Live Line.
That voice sounded familiar. Who the hell was that?
That sounded like a chipmunk to me.
Lou Katz! Brother, how are you?
Dude.
Lou went to John F. Kennedy High School. I went to Robert E. Perry High School. We've known each other since we were 16.
Yeah.
And both wanted to get into this business together.
Yeah, we go back about as far as you can go.
About as far as
In fact, I still have, I wish I had taken a picture, Jack, of you in the studio at WJFK.
Yes.
Because you had come by the Kennedy High School
This was your,
station.
before there was a WJFK sports station.
Right, exactly.
There was your high school radio station.
At Kennedy and Silver Spring.
Right.
And I remember you made a guest, Bruce Diamond made a
That's
guest
right.
appearance, and it was such a big deal because all the kids at Kennedy going, wow, Bruce Diamond from Winx.
You know,
awesome.
that, first of all, let's just touch on this.
Sure.
There was a radio station in Rockville on 1600 AM, WINX.
Yeah.
Now, this is back in the days when AM radio actually had a big signal before cellular and all the other things that interfere. And Pierre Eaton is the gentleman who ran that. And it was a license to Montgomery County, to Rockville, but it covered Washington. And it had the most amazing palette of talent and guests. And Pierre loved celebrities, so he would bring everybody in. I mean, if you walked in his office, I don't care who it was. The Beatles were there, for God's sake. Pierre knew them, and he gave guys like me an opportunity at 16 to work full-time in radio. So once you meet a guy like that and do something like that, you're pretty much ordained the rest of your life to do it. And I was very fortunate my junior year at Robert E. Perry High School to do 7 to midnight. Well, most kids listened to the radio back then. I guess and still do at night.
Sure.
So I didn't know I was a big deal. I simply was on the radio. I was playing music. It was fun. It's what I did. It wasn't an ego-driven thing. I was having a blast. And, of course, the girls like the guys on the radio. So
I can't believe that Jack did not know he was a big deal. I don't believe that.
There was no social media. You did your job. You were on the radio. Sure, the phone rang nonstop, kids requesting record and having, but you had no concept. Trust me when I tell you, without social media, without text, email, Facebook, Snap, Insta, you had no idea. And, the ratings would come out, once a quarter?
Quarterly, sure.
And that was it. You'd look at the ratings and go, great. Some people in Beltsville are listening, people over here in Fairfax. You had no concept. So when you'd walk into a place like Kennedy High School and people would be going nuts for you, you'd go, is everything okay, Lou? What's going on here? God. So Lou and I met. Lou wanted to get into the business and obviously eventually did and worked with us here for many years on Mix 107.3.
Yeah, I cannot believe this thing's disappearing.
Right. None of us can. None of a company called EMF bought the stick over here on Wisconsin Avenue, the tower. They bought the transmitter. That's all they want. They have their own business model, and it's not like this failed. This has been incredibly successful. Thank God. Thanks to you. Mm-hmm. If you hadn't listened every day, we wouldn't be here. Lou wouldn't be here. I mean, this is, thank you for finding something compelling in what we do, who we are in our radio stations.
We really had a fun time here, I will tell you. At least my 11 years here.
Yeah.
Which was short compared to, your lifespan here.
Well,
it was great.
Do you know, in this building, I'm only second to Hardin and Weaver down the hall. Right. And, on this frequency, the 40 years of this frequency, 30 years we've been here. So
yeah, I was doing some math, and I think I held afternoon drive longer than anybody else.
I think you did.
10 years for PM drive. I think I know Cipriano didn't do it that long.
No, he did it a year and a half.
Pete Larkin from the MAL Soft Explosion days.
Who wrote.
Right.
Yeah, he wrote the other
He wasn't on that long, so I think I had the honor of sitting in here.
I think you do. Elliot Woodside had 5 years here.
Right.
And then I think it's you, and it's me.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I wonder how long Celeste
was here. She was here when it was Q107.
Celeste did. Right. The late Celeste Clark, a lovely person and great personality. Yeah. And, later we're going to try and run down everyone who worked on this frequency. I'm not sure I'm up to it. Maybe you can help me.
Do you have all day?
Well, I've tried to make a list, the past few weeks, Lou, of everyone. Right. There have been so many great people, so many great personalities that have been on the air, some for a short period of time, some for a longer period of time. We haven't had that many co-hosts in our show. It's been pretty stable. Thank God. Some are a revolving door. But the station in its 40 years from Q107 forward, I don't know, maybe 100 great air personalities, maybe a few more.
Who knows? As I was driving and listening to Dude and Doug, what a trip that was.
So cool as I have been. So cool.
Hearing them on the station. I started thinking about the listeners out there who have supported you for all these decades.
Yeah.
And now have probably figured out this thing is going bye-bye at 7 o'clock tonight. All the people that aren't personalities that are associated with the radio station. I want to take a moment out to thank them for all of their work.
Please do.
There's going to be salespeople that are losing their jobs. There's going to be, it's a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And besides your favorite disc jockeys on the radio station, the Jack Diamond Morning Show, etc., a lot of people behind the scenes are out. And I've been thinking a lot about that too, and I want to just take a second out to thank all of the literally hundreds of people who, I want to say, the back room of the radio station and the frequency, all these decades, who did everything behind the scenes to make sure this thing ran like a top-notch ship.
One of the hardest working was a promotions manager director that we had when we came here named Vivian Vaughn. And her daughter Rebecca and I have been communicating. Vivian was one of a kind. And we mentioned earlier we gave away houses, we gave away cars. Vivian was the spark plug behind all of that. But she very rarely took a bow. Occasionally we'd drag her up on stage and make her. But you're right. And we discussed earlier the fact that, some have passed as well.
Yeah.
Some maybe who work behind the scenes in engineering or in sales are no longer with us. And we owe a debt of gratitude to everybody who did all of the really hard work and heavy lifting behind the scenes so that we could spend time on the air and in many cases take a bow for their hard work. So how's Wendy? How are your kids? How's life?
It's great. I'm enjoying retirement, semi-retirement.
Right.
I have my little Hound radio
I see
station.
that, yes.
And by the way, we're not going to buy ads on WRQX promoting Hound Radio.
You should.
Like some other radio
Everybody
stations.
else is.
Some other radio stations have been lining up, banging at the door to do.
Not like I get any of that money, please.
Your pal Chili is kicking the door in.
So I just want to, Lisa, make sure you get this here.
Please.
So when you're done with
you can go to
WRQX,
houndradio.com.
Listen, Radio. It's houndradio.com.
Jeez,
Did I say that enough? Houndradio.com.
I love him. You're welcome to promote your project.
Jack, Lou is the only person, Blair told me, only person who emailed several times, like he's Barbara Streisand. Is there going to be parking? Is parking going to be paid? Is there going to be food? Is there going to be drink?
If he ever went into management, he'd be my rep. Believe me. Lou takes care of the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. Lou had a lovely run over at WASH as well. And
you and I were
WAVA. I mean,
you and I were competitors in mornings here in Washington for 14 years. I had the honor of actually lasting longer than Eddie Gallagher did there.
That's amazing.
Eddie was 12 and a half years in mornings.
What a wonderful, sweet
the
man.
late 60s and 70s. And
I'm Eddie Gallagher. 97 to 1.
It's so nice. It's so nice.
Blair got me my parking. Look at this. Here's the parking.
I got the parking.
Because without the parking, Lou wouldn't have shown up for me.
Jack, he did well for himself. He has Burberry eyeglasses on. Look at that. Go check the side of that. He's a styling pro.
He's got all the money.
It was a Wash FM trade.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Come on, let's be serious here.
Yeah, over here on this side, remember, they don't trade. But come on, iHeartMedia, just for a minute, please. Could use the trade, could use the help.
Anyway,
hell, I just want to attend a concert and not pay for the tickets from you. Live Nation, help a brother out. Got an 18-year-old. He wants to go see Shawn Mendes. Can you help? You still have friends over there?
Anyway, I wanted to tell you, Wendy's doing great. Our son Max is a senior consultant for Booz Allen Hamilton.
Wow, look at you.
And our daughter Bonnie graduated the University of Florida in Gainesville a year ago, works for NBC New York in marketing.
Wow.
So, and we just moved into Bethesda, so we're doing great.
You moved out of
Gaithersburg.
Right.
Wanted to scale down, so we got a townhouse in Bethesda. It's great.
Good for you guys.
So
you look great. You know, you're one of my dearest and longest friends.
We go way back, dude.
You know, it was fun working with you, competing against you, and just being friends with you all these years, buddy.
That's been great.
Thanks. Lou Katz here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show and Mix 107.3. Jimmy, tell me, you know, in fact, Lou, you can help out with this. When we have had so many kind sponsors and supporters and people who have worked with us here on the radio, and without our advertisers, without our partners, there's no radio at all. You know that. Of
course.
And we've been blessed. I want to thank the local small advertisers who literally could buy a spot or two to let you know about a sale or an event. It's been our honor and pleasure to represent you and your business. I want to thank the national advertisers who entrusted us with their message as well. That's how a radio station keeps the lights on. And if we have a message to share with you and you respond to it, obviously then they're thrilled that you came in and you heard about it.
Absolutely.
Here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show or Lou's Show or Dude and Doug or any of them. It's been the same since the very beginning of time. If you remember on The Tonight Show, if you can think back that far, Vince McMahon would come out with the Alpo.
Ed McMahon.
I'm sorry, Ed McMahon. Vince McMahon, pro wrestling. And literally put it down and would talk about the dog and how much he loved the Alpo. And I remember a couple of times the dog wouldn't touch the Alpo. And I thought, how is he going to twist this?
Live TV.
Live TV. You know what he said? Oh, he's had his fill. We fed him backstage. He enjoyed the chicken earlier tonight.
When they would show a clip where Johnny came out and put his face in the bowl.
He did eat it because the dog wouldn't, and they were afraid the client would cancel. But Mattress Warehouse has been a sponsor and a partner and friend of ours. And in fact, I sleep on one of their beds. They're a great local company with great local people.
Absolutely, Jack. You know, it was founded in Montgomery County, Mattress Warehouse. And it's often that people ask Jack or myself, or probably Lou also, when you do mornings, they say, what time do you get up and what time do you go to bed? And I get up at 4. I don't know what time you
3:30.
3:30. And, of course, you're not getting enough sleep or as many hours as you want to, so you want the amount of hours you do get to be quality sleep. And that's what we've done at Mattress Warehouse. We went in, we got bed mats. They have technology where you line a bed with you and you can bring in your partner. And in under 5 minutes, they can determine the right type of bed for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's been a dear friend for decades. He is the legendary Super Bowl champion, Joe Theismann.
Good morning, Jack.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm great. Hey, congratulations on. I guess if you're leaving, it's not a congratulations, but it's just on to another phase of your life. But you've affected so many people and brought so much joy and insight and fun to the show. It's a real pleasure to call you a friend, and I still have that big football that I got from you back at RFK Stadium.
Joe, one of my favorites. This is Joe Theismann, ladies and gentlemen. If you've listened to our show, Joe's been on many, many times. Sometimes working on charity events. Sometimes just hanging out with us, giving us analysis of upcoming games, skins, and playoff games, and hopefully, eventually, a Super Bowl again one day soon. But after Joe was injured and left football, and then went on to do some other things in broadcasting, and has had a wonderful post-football career. For my birthday one year, Joe Theismann agreed to go back to RFK Stadium with me for the first time and go out on the field and play catch with me. And I will tell you, one of the greatest moments of my life, one of the greatest memories of my life, is being on the field, literally RFK Stadium, and having Joe Theismann throw me an over-the-shoulder Art Monk bomb for a touchdown in the end zone. And, Joe, thank you for that memory, and thank you for that time. It's one of my favorite memories.
Well, you're welcome, Jack, and I will tell you that the spike was legendary.
And this is the funny thing. So Joe is running.
I haven't seen one like that.
Joe is running me ragged up and down the sidelines, and I'm doing crossing patterns. And then Joe goes, "Throw the ball to me."
How intimidating!
And I'm doing my best to throw spirals to Joe Theismann. Joe, you're such a great guy, and I can't tell you how important you've been. Joe did a morning show. Joe did mornings over at WPGC for years, so he's done this.
2 years. I just really, to me, the medium you work in is the most creative because you paint pictures for people. You wake them up in the morning, you put a smile on their face. You tell them, where not to travel on the road because of the traffic. And we used to have a lot of fun over there. And I always, of all the mediums I've worked in, when I used to own the Redskin newspaper for a while, and then all the television, everything. But being in radio, to me, is the most fun because it's a big, broad stroke, and you get to add all kinds of color to it and all kinds of flavor and all kinds of fun. And, I will say this. I mean, you are an icon in our city, and there's certainly been a lot of incredible people that have entered into the radio industry. But I'll tell you, you are one of the most special individuals. You went away, you came home. People used to say you can never go home again. You proved that wrong, Jack.
Thank you, Joe.
Because you came home and had an impact on everybody's life. And
thank you.
I know Barbara, the young lady that does my hair for me, every time I walk in and get it done, it's like it's the Jack Diamond Show. Here
Thank you.
Okay, got to get a haircut, I guess.
Tell Barbara thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words. Joe, you know that when you meet a youngster who watched you play and looks up with those hopeful eyes, and you realize you're playing the game before, in many cases, millions of people watching, tens of thousands in the stadium, but it comes down to that one kid who has a hope and a dream and looks up in your eyes, and you take that moment, you realize it's really still, even in football, on that grand stage, one-on-one.
It is, and it's the thing about it is if you can affect somebody's life in a positive way, of which you do, I think so many. There's people talk. There's great satisfaction to that. It isn't the monetary compensation. People get hung up on money. It's being able to put a smile on a young person's face, or going down to Children's Hospital and getting a chance to see the kids, of which you've done so many times in so many ways and put so many smiles on those kids' faces. It's a treat to have a chance to sort of walk down memory lane with you again, and I can't wait to hear what the exciting future is going to be for you.
Joe, thank you very much, and thank you for everything through the years. we'll talk to you at football season. Hopefully we'll have our show back together and have an opportunity to talk about the Redskins' next campaign. But thank you for everything. See you out at Redskin Park, my friend.
You bet, Jack. You know where to find me.
All right, take care. The one and only Joe Theismann, the best.
And we were kind of
Literally the
hoping Joe was going to be here to set Joe up with Erica because they would be a power couple in D.C.
Joe is probably the only guest on this show who comes in and like lifts me up out of my chair. I'm like, okay, Joe's here. Alrighty.
Joe could still start the game. Joe could still go out there and play the game. And it's funny because the day I played catch with him at RFK Stadium, that man can throw the ball as hard as he ever threw it. And I had bruises that I proudly wore for weeks after that. No padding.
Yeah, please.
I'm catching that ball. I'm not dropping a Joe Theismann pass. But just a wonderful guy and a great part of our show for many, many years. Joe Theismann here on Mix 107.3.
Well, the truth is I've done 4,561 shows, and probably in all of those years of shows, Maddie would be the single biggest relationship that ever developed out of a show. So you've been writing poetry since you were how old?
About 3.
And so you started calling it heart songs because what?
It was the song in my heart. A heart song doesn't have to be a song in your heart, even talking about love and peace.
That was Maddie Stepanek, and that was Oprah Winfrey talking about our young poet laureate, and perhaps will be canonized here one day soon. Many years ago here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show, I read an article, and it talked about this young man who wrote poetry, and he, as a child, I mean, literally 2, 3, 4 years old, starting writing verse and started talking about peace on earth and people getting along. And I said to Jimmy, let's call his mom, Jenny, and see, I don't know, maybe we can have him on the air. Maybe we can talk with him, because it's just a remarkable story that this young boy has this incredibly old soul. And what we all hope for on earth is a bit more peace on earth, a bit more understanding, a bit more love. And we ended up becoming so incredibly close to Maddie and to his mom, Dr. Jenny Stepanek. And we've done events with them. We do Peace Day with them. Maddie came in and was disc jockey for a day. Has been on the air with us. One of our listeners put his website up. He was on Oprah. He's on Oprah. And he didn't have a website. Yeah. And I'm like, Maddie, we got to hook you up here, bro.
Sure.
And, it's been such an amazingly close relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jenny Stepanek. Jimmy, there you go, buddy. How are you, love?
I'm doing good, thank you.
It's good to see you. You're going to have to, please, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for the years of love and support and the mission of peace, carrying on Maddie's and your mission, not just Maddie's.
Yeah, it's become my mission also. It's interesting. I first of all, I love that I follow Joe Theismann. I'm like one of the world's biggest Redskins
you're
fans.
You're a huge Skins fan,
and that's like the closest I'll ever get to him, was sitting here and listening.
He would have come in today. I'm sorry, you would have met him. He would have given you a big hug.
To back. But he said that you paint pictures.
Mm-hmm.
You allow people to create their own image. And I think that might be part of why you and Jimmy and Maddie were such a great team, because of the power of the word. Written word, spoken word, and peace is about words.
Yes.
So just being able to help Maddie give people the opportunity to paint their picture of peace and move forward with that. I can't thank you enough for 20 years of that gift.
Listen, every time we had Maddie on, he had something profound to say in the simplest of ways. I mean, it just transcended our medium. It transcended all the BS in the world. Here's the thing about radio. It's not dictatorial, where television is dictatorial. You sit in front of the TV, it shows you, it tells you, it's all there. Right. Radio, or the spoken word, or Maddie's poetry, it's your own personal vision of what peace is, what a sunny day is. If I tell you it's an absolutely perfect day on God's green earth, there's a light breeze blowing, The sky is a beautiful azure. There's filtered sun coming through the clouds. You have your own picture of that, your own vision.
Exactly.
But yet it's still exactly the same thing we're all seeing, just in our own personal way.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes, I think, what we do, what Maddie does, what Maddie did so special.
Yeah, and that's on September 11th, 2001. I mean, I'm just, my mind is going everywhere.
Let it.
I'm going across 20 years. Maddie's on your show. You all laughed together. You inspired together. Then you cried together.
Yes.
And we've learned to laugh together again. And on September 11th, 2001, which is really when Maddie became super focused on peace rather than peace among other things.
Right.
And he said, we are a mosaic of gifts. And that's that picture. That's the story that each of us has our own picture, our own image.
Right.
But imagine bringing all those different pictures together for a collective image, a collective picture.
And what a lovely way for him to say that. We are a mosaic. We are many colors. Now, in a mosaic, generally, it's the same shape. But if you take those pieces of the mosaic and break them, and then put them all together in this unique frame. They're all their own individual pieces and colors that come together and make something beautiful.
And
that
each piece is essential to the whole.
Yeah.
Each piece is essential.
That's the lovely thing about poetry and the things that Maddie did. Maddie Online is up not only in running, but Maddie's books and poetry. So many wonderful, these are great gifts. We talk around the holidays about being a great stocking stuffer, but it's also simply a great gift to give. If somebody needs a little hope in their life, if somebody needs a little encouragement, you'll find these books incredibly accessible, great for young readers. Mosaics and Music, Make Peace the News. This is coming up on June 2nd between 3 and 5 in Rockville. And we do Peace Day with Jenny. In fact, it was an official declaration by the governor last year.
And again this year.
Which is amazing. And at least you can invite our friends in from Channel 7 or come on in. Feel free to come on in the studio and join us here. We'd love to have you in.
Yes. So this Sunday at Dawson's Market in downtown Rockville, we're going to be celebrating Maddie's vision of a mosaic with something that, Jimmy, you were there last year when we created that giant 5-foot by 3-foot mosaic.
That's right.
500 people that don't know each other all created a piece of a mosaic that's being unveiled this Sunday.
Our friend Michael Algio, is he coming this year with his band?
Yeah, he's coming. The Black and Tan Band will be performing in July.
Boy, are those guys
Day.
good. I'm so amazed at how talented and how special they are. And it's so nice that they support you and they support these events and they come out. There are judges and prosecutors and defenders and attorneys. And they make wonderful music. So it's really a pretty... See, that's what we're talking about with local radio. And what a satellite piped-in station from Sacramento can't do. That's, for us, the shame. This frequency, 107.3, in our 30-year history, 10 before that is Q107. Being a Washington radio station has always mattered. That's really what it comes down to, is the very personal one-on-one communication. I can't imagine what a piped-in satellite station is going to do. God forbid there's flooding, these storms, something horrific like the snipers or September 11th. That's what we shared. And in fact, we spoke with Maddie about that. You mentioned September 11th, when his entire focus as a young man, so sadly, had to be turned to how do we keep this world together? How do we find peace again?
Yes. And peace is possible. And that's why his foundation exists. That's what MaddieOnline.com promotes. We have our Pathways to Peace program where we take his message, because his message isn't just about pausing violence.
Right.
His message is about beginning peace and understanding that we don't have to agree with each other to be with each other. We don't have to be like each other to respect each other. And we celebrate that with our programs, but also with these upcoming events. And I know that you guys go off the air today, but I'm bragging that you guys will still be there on Sunday at Dawson's Market, and that I'm going to see you in July for Peace Day.
Absolutely.
Where we've got the city of Rockville, Montgomery County, Howard County, and the state of Maryland all proclaiming it a day of peace.
I want you to know the only thing that may interfere I was offered a job at the biggest station in New York.
Oh, yes.
It's the Sunoco station at 42nd and Broadway. So I may not be able...
Then you can fill up before you head down.
Jenny Stepanek, Dr. Jenny Stepanek here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show.
Love your show, babe.
Love your show, babe. We're online at Facebook.com/Jack Diamond Show if you'd like to see our live stream this morning. There'll be a ton of pictures. We'll have everybody's handle so you can stay in touch. Thanks to Barbara Britt, who came in initially to join us this morning right at 6. She was my first co-host and partner on the show. Rick Fowler, who was the music director at Q107 for so many years, and just an amazing guy. We didn't tell our Rolling Stone story. We have a great Rolling Stone story maybe we can get to. Uncle Johnny, who was the night jock on Q107 for years. Yeah. Dude Walker and Doug Limerick were in studio. I am Doug Limerick, ABC News. Doug was here a few minutes ago, along with the incredible Dude Walker. Just talked to Jim Elliott and Scott Woodside. They did mornings on Q. Cecily Nobler, our movie reviewer. Luke Katz. Jenny, of course, is here. Joe Theismann joined us a few minutes ago. And some of the best is yet to come. Here on Mix 107.3, that's WRQX, Washington.
Mix 107.3. You've got DC's best music mix and the Jack Diamond Morning Show. Stay here. More's next.
Deliver thousands of smiles with Amazon. Apply at Amazon.com/driverjobs. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, for gosh sake. Nothing has changed. Not a working pair of headphones. Mix 107.3 is WRQX Washington, a proud Cumulus broadcasting station. Final day of Mix 107.3 here in Washington. Our show will end this morning at 9. We'll be back this evening between 6 and 7 for a final thank you and goodbye from everybody on the show. It's been fun reliving all these moments from Q107, the first 10 days of 107.3 being a contemporary frequency, and then the 30 years the Jack Diamond Morning Show has been on here on Mix 107.3. During our period of time, we've had a number of absolutely favorite people and personalities on the air and behind the scenes. Many people on our show came to us as interns, and then they did some work in promotions or marketing, and then occasionally they would do some work helping to produce our show. And once in a while, they'd end up on the air, and then they'd just take over the damn show. And a couple of those are here today. Say hi to phone girl Layla.
Good morning.
And her husband, who she met on the show, Jeff Shamrock.
Howdy, everybody.
Good to see you again. And this is one of my favorite Jack Diamond Morning Show stories because, very few children have been born of the show, but congratulations on your baby.
Thank you so much. We brought her here today.
She is adorable.
Yes,
absolutely beautiful.
Her name is Josie.
All right, so let's tell this story quickly.
Okay.
Layla came to us, worked in the building, had this sparkling personality. I said, you really need to be on the radio.
You did. You approached me. I started working on the show. And then, how long was it? A couple months? Jeff started working. He
right, Jeff became our producer.
Yeah, our executive producer. We met in the parking lot downstairs on his first day.
Yeah, Layla was the very first person that I saw, and she said, "Oh, I'm so happy that you're here." And I'm like, "Wow, that's a great welcome."
Nice. And then if you see this little studio over here, this is our producer studio, and it was tough work for Jeff Shamrock to have to sit next to phone girl Layla with scant 6 inches between them. And the next thing I know, they're married with a child. What was going on in that studio?
Well, she's only 11 weeks old, not 11 years.
And originally, Jack, our daughter's name is Josie, but I really was lobbying to name her Jackie, but it wasn't going to happen.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You guys made a great contribution to our show, and it is those voices and those personalities that bring any of this to life. I mean, what separates 107.3 from 107.7 from 107 whatever are the people. I mean, we can play the same music, we can attend the same events, but it's the unique perspectives and personalities on the air, and I thank you for your contributions.
Thank you.
Do you have memories or a moment moment or a time here or an event other than this. I mean, momentous enough. I'm not sure how we top having a baby and meeting and getting married, but...
I think my favorite day, besides the day I met Jeff, of course, Joey McIntyre Day.
No.
Oh, okay. I mean, I have never. My hair was done. My makeup. Everybody's like, "Why do you look so wonderful at 6:30 in the morning?" Oh, no reason.
My favorite moment was when we did a bit with Jimmy, and we had a baby wading pool. And we put mousetraps in the baby wading pool, and Jimmy was in a bathing suit.
Yeah, I love that.
And then dove into the baby pool, and all the mousetraps went off on all of his stuff.
Were you here for Laundromat Lotto?
Yes. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now, and by the way, if you'd like to check it out on Facebook, facebook.com/Jack Diamond Show, live stream, and in fact, you can start at the beginning or just join us right here. We'll post this later. The station's social media is going away this evening at 7. So bookmark jackdiamond.com. It's just an under construction flash page right now, but we'll have a full website up soon. Twitter.com/Jack Diamond Show, and you'll be able to find everybody on the show, and the video, and the audio, and the pictures. I have about, 4,000 or 5,000 pictures to post. And that's, and by the way, if you have any, info@jackdiamond.com. So, the lottery was hot. It wasn't $360,000 or $700,000 or whatever, but everybody was into playing the lottery. And we decided it would be fun. Jimmy was willing to get inside an industrial dryer. Now, again, I urge you, do not try this at home.
Please don't.
And our current ownership, Cumulus Broadcasting, would never permit this. I can't even begin to tell you how ABC allowed us to do this, but there was a period in time where it was very much asked for forgiveness. You remember. So we sent Spanky with ping pong balls, and they all had numbers. They had lottery numbers. Yeah. And we threw the ping pong balls into the giant clothes dryer. Now, it made the most incredible sound when those ping pong balls went around in the dryer. So initially, we were just going to pluck them out. That's all we were going to do. And Jimmy said, "No, I'll get in the dryer."
Of course.
And I said, "You what?" He says, "No, I'll get inside the dryer. I'll grab one. I'll hand it out to Spanky." I said, "Go ahead and climb in." Phone rings. It's Jim Robinson, our general manager. "What the hell are you doing?" And I said, "What are you doing? Oh, my God, you can't do this. I don't know anything about this. Paperwork." So Jimmy got in the dryer. And I swear to you, this is true. And I know that people will doubt this. You had to pick and get 6 numbers right. We offered $1 million, and we promoted this, and everybody kind of laughed and thought we were just kidding because nobody thought it would be $1 million payout. So we go through this to make a very long story short. This woman who's on the phone got 5 numbers right. Am I wrong?
That's right.
Did she get 5 numbers right?
She did.
Again, Jim Robinson's on the phone. How do you expect to pay for this? You can't stop this. I said, "Jim, we can't stop this. This woman's on the line. She's gotten 5 numbers right. If she gets 6, she gets $1 million. So, Jimmy back in the dryer, one more tumble around. And I swear to you, listen, you have insurance for a reason. We would have to have paid it out. The station was making enough money, they could have.
It would have been $1 over the next million years.
She got the 6 number wrong.
Yeah.
And we survived another 20 years here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show. But it's one of my favorite Jimmy stories as well, you getting inside the industrial dryer.
Explains a lot.
Yeah. Now, what have you guys gone on to do post the Jack Diamond Morning Show in Mix 107.3?
I work for a commercial real estate developer
Nice.
in D.C. I got an adult job.
I'm still doing it.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. I just started a new job this week working for a company called ICF. They're a consulting company, so I just started working for them this week. Hi, Scott. That's my boss.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for letting him come in today. We appreciate it.
Scott, you have room for 4 more people.
Yeah, exactly. No, make it 5. Lisa's coming along, too. Come on. Please. You guys are great. I can't tell you how much fun I had with you.
Thank
What a contribution you made, and thank you so much for coming back and joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for all that you have done and for introducing me to Jeff and for wonderful 30 years on the radio. I grew up listening to you, and it was such an honor to work with you.
Thank you. It's been an honor to work with both of you. Our executive producer for many years, Jeff Shamrock, phone girl Layla, and their beautiful baby.
Baby Josie.
Where is Jessie?
Josie.
Or, I'm sorry, Josie. Jeez.
You can call her Jackie. Let's call her Jackie.
Well, I want to call her Jackie.
See?
Look at this. Lisa, now she's asleep.
Yeah.
She's
Well, she heard the last 10 minutes. That's why she's asleep.
I think
See, he's still an executive producer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he has been on our show, I think, probably more than any other comedian in the history of the show. And he's one of our absolute favorites. Never fails to deliver, sells out every time he is here. He's the one and only Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Hello, Bob. Jimmy, that button.
Yep.
Is it up?
It will do anything.
Hello, Bob.
I was listening to the stories about Jimmy, and all I can hear is like, Jimmy will do it. Get him in the dryer.
That's true.
That's fair.
There was a time when he would.
I should talk a little louder to Jimmy. Jimmy, we're going over here now. Oh, my God. I wanted to call in today and say goodbye. I wanted to say thank you so much for always having me on, and I mean, you guys are unbelievable. You how long have you been doing this?
30 years here at Mix 107.3, from literally the first day to the last.
For people that don't know anything about radio, to be on in 30 years in the same place in this business in a major market, that is unbelievable. I mean, that's like Nadia Comaneciing a radio career.
Can I have the gold?
Stuck the landing.
It's unbelievable. And I travel all around the country doing stand-up, and I go to these radio shows, and some people don't realize how difficult it is to do what you guys do, and some guys don't get it. Like, you'll come in, and they'll be like, what's going on, Bob? And I'm like, well, my wife. And then the guy will launch into a 5-minute story about his wife. My wife's crazy. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, maybe you save your wife material for tomorrow when I'm not here.
Maybe.
You know, we respect the art form, and we love those who do it well. And you are just...
guys are unbelievable. You never feel bigger or more important or funnier than when you're in the room with you guys.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, Bob.
You're really, really good at what you do. You're really, I mean, I always feel elevated when I come in with you guys, and it makes me very comfortable to the point where I can be really good. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times you can't do stand-up the way you do on stage in a radio studio, but you guys make it so easy. And I'm going to miss you guys, man. You guys are just awesome.
Thank you. And, you know, one of the reasons we had an in-studio audience, we did Free for All Friday, was to meet you guys one-on-one. I mean, every week we had 15 or 20 people in studio, depending on the setup. We had bands, we had stand-up comedians, always the headliner at the DC Improv. And thanks to Allison, who booked for us, and before her, John X, and all the people through the years who have brought guys like Bob Marley. We've had Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, there's nobody we haven't had. Ron White.
I mean, and to have that audience in there was unbelievable. I mean, because a lot of times you go into I was on a station in Florida once, and I was hammering away doing the jokes, and this guy's looking at the monitor, and then right in the middle he held his finger up and he goes, 72 degrees.
Yeah.
What?
Then he goes, go ahead. And I was like, oh my God.
Right in the middle of a chunk. Right in. I'm approaching the punchline. We're on the on-ramp.
Right. Like 72 degrees. Go ahead, Bob. We got a rock coming up. A power hour, a jet set. We don't have a lot of time here. Let's go do your little skit and let's move on.
Bob, we will let you know where we are, when we are, and we will work together again. Believe me.
Yes. Absolutely. I love you guys, man. I wanted to call in today and say thank you for always having me on. And I just appreciate you guys. And keep in touch. Let us know what's happening.
Promise I will, buddy. Bob Marley here on the Jack Diamond Morning Show. More laughs, ready for anything, just a great guy, and works 99% clean. It's very hard to do that today. Mm-hmm. Most guys who work, well, it's called burning the room. And he does not burn the room. And
great guy, very funny.
A great human being. We competed against Billy Bush. who was across the street at Z104 at one point. And you know Billy from television. You know, he is the president's what is
cousin?
He's his cousin.
His father, Billy Bush's father, was first President Bush's brother.
There you go. Thank you very much for the family tree. And Billy worked with you across town at Z104.
Z104.
And
they went away too.
Yes, they did.
Thanks, E.
Yeah. Well, they at least stayed in the family and just simply became another outlet for WTOP. So you know, but Billy and I became friends, and you know, it's funny. While we were competing against each other, I would see him at charity functions, and you know, would shake hands with him, give him a hug, and was always glad to see him. Yeah. He never looked me in the eye.
No.
Would never look me in the eye. And I once asked him why, and he said, "Not until I beat you."
Yeah.
And I guess you're not going to look me in the eye. But he is a sweetheart, and he's a good guy. And listen, whatever you think about him and that whole thing that went down on the bus, I think of everybody, he got the raw end of the deal.
Boy, it scared me because the guy laughing at a joke, he's the only one that lost his job.
I mean,
That's
he was
my
simple.
gig.
He was holding the microphone, right? I mean, you know, but he is a talented guy, and I think he transcends the medium really well on television, and he asks tough questions. He's a good journalist.
He's coming back.
Hello, DC. It's a voice from the morning radio days gone by, like a lot of them now. It's been almost 20 years, though I didn't quite drift away quietly into the night. It's Billy Bush, and before I was stinking up the television airwaves, I was getting mopped up in the ratings by the mighty Jack Diamond and Mix 107.3. Things have been quiet the last couple of years. I'm now living in the morning DJ's retirement home here in Boca with my roommate, Dennis Owens from the old WGNS. Oh, we're having the best time. Played shuffleboard last night. He implored me to tell you, Jack, that everything is all set for you down here. We got the bait shack going. There's bingo every night at 5:30 after dinner. Everybody talks. Nobody listens. It's perfect. Congrats to all Mix employees then and this morning. You are and were part of something absolutely great. I'll see you in the fall on the all-new Extra Extra on television. Love and respect from an old competitor.
I love Billy, and that was very funny, Billy. Thank you. Very kind of you and very, very funny.
Shuffleboard, I'm in.
With the Babe Shack, is that what he said? Did I hear the Babe Shack?
The Babe Shack.
Ladies and gentlemen, in your career in, any walk of life where you have an intern program, you bring people in from a college or a high school in some cases or a trade school, and you hope to help them sort of find their way if they're interested in your business. And once in a while, you find somebody who maybe becomes a part-time employee. And that actually happened with phone girl Layla. Layla, who was just on the air with us, part of the Jack Diamond Morning Show over the past 30 years. And Layla not only answered phones, but she was great on the air and a lot of fun. But you don't find them very often. Well, shortly thereafter, a young girl who was going to American University came in and was doing an internship with us. And she had, again, this vivacious personality. And I said, you really should be on the radio. You know, you should do this. Come in here and, be on the radio for a minute. Tell us about your weekend or, what you did last night. And she said, well, what do I say? I said, tell the truth.
It out, yeah.
And she told the truth. And it became some of the funniest, most memorable stuff in history. And one of my greatest finds amongst the interns. This is Bilingual Allie. Allie, it's so good to see you.
It's so
I'm
good
come
to
give
see.
you
I
a
know.
hug.
I really want to give you a hug, too.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. And congratulations. But you're turning kids out faster than Leyland Shamrock.
Yep, 2 now. 1 is 7 weeks and at home with the husband. So it's my time out right now, and I'm enjoying it.
And, Jack, we should get Allie to mention how she met her husband, because it has to do with Mix 107.3.
That's true. It was a Mix 107.3 date auction for cystic fibrosis.
A date auction.
Yes.
Believe me, to raise money for charity, nothing is below us.
And don't worry, I had friends in the back who were, had some $20 in their pocket to pay for me.
Just in case.
Yeah. Just in case.
That's the truth. Allie and I both were there for each other.
Yes.
To say, okay, if nobody bet,
I mean, the worst thing is crickets. Like, you don't want that. So that my husband was there, and I thought he was there for me. Turns out he would go there like every night for that bar.
I thought for the babe auction. He's racking up dates. He's got a full calendar. He doesn't have a lot of money to spend on the dates, but he's got a lot of dates.
Yeah. And he bought me, and I don't know. Yeah. And
I remember this. I mean, clearly remember this. And you weren't sure. I remember talking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I had... That's the thing. Like, you guys, you're my family. So you all would stalk his Facebook page with me and tell me if I should message him or not. And, of course, needy, eager Allie, I did. And,
We played a game called Agree or Disagree, in which we would ask members of the show a question. And we would play with our live and studio audience.
Oh, man.
And the audience had the opportunity to either agree or disagree with the answer that the show member gave, and then they would win a prize. So we played this game with Allie and one of our in-studio audience members. And the question was, Allie, what does the FBI stand for? Allie, your response was...
The Federal Bureau of Interrogation.
Now, we always hit the ding when the personality gets it right. And Jimmy and I both looked at each other, and I went, well, technically it's wrong, but in actuality, they are the Federal Bureau of Interrogation. And we gave it to her.
Yes.
And honestly, I still feel like I forget if it's interrogation or investigation. I have no idea.
Well, one of my favorites, Jack, was anything about Benjamin Franklin. She had no idea who he was, what he was. Or simple quotes like, one of his lines is, a penny saved is a penny earned.
Right,
and Allie, finished this quote, a penny saved is, and Allie said, a penny in my pocket.
Allie, you are... you transcend the medium so incredibly because you don't have that inner filter that says, oh, people are listening. You just had fun. You laughed at yourself easily. And you're such a likable person. You went on to a radio career.
I mean, honestly, I give it to you, Jack, of that college student when I came in here. And I remember you had just done a break about your haircut. Right. And I was cracking up as I was working in promotions for Jessica Price. And I was laughing to myself. I'm like, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to make a comment because I like your haircut today or whatever. So I went in and you said to me, why don't you come in the next morning and give us tips on first dates? And I'm like, okay, I've known nothing about dating, but I'm not going to tell them that. So I went in and, I mean, you really gave me a chance and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It changed my life.
Well, you rose to the occasion. And every time we would toss something at you, and I'd say to Jimmy, hey, let's, see if Allie can do this, or, let's let Allie interview someone. I said, Allie, if you could ask, let's say it was Justin Timberlake, and it may have been, if you could ask Justin Timberlake a question, what would your question be? And Allie had the most profound question. I went, wow, would you ask him that? And you went, oh, yeah. So we threw her in with somebody like Justin Timberlake and let her do the interview.
I mean, really.
And it ended up being one of the best because they weren't, radio questions or DJ questions. They were, exactly what Allie wanted to know. And that's what made it so special. And those people are hard to find. And I want you to know that in my 30 years here, one of the reasons that I've been here 30 years is because of people like you and Jimmy and Erica and Blair and all those who came before you who added je ne sais quoi, who added a flavor, who added a spice, who added a great moment to the show. So I thank you.
Well, I got to say it goes beyond here, and I'm trying to remind myself that as I'm sad today. And Jimmy, I cry all the time.
Yeah,
but I won't cry, but I will say it goes beyond that. I mean, we're family. Jimmy, you introduced me and my husband at our wedding. And Jack, you recently gave my 3-year-old son, his dreams came true when you introduced him to Mark Roberge.
Oh, yeah.
And Erica, I mean, you and I can still down a bottle of wine and house, oysters together and talk real
So
housewives.
I get Sam a miniature pink guitar, and you guys get bottles of wine?
Please.
That was fun. Sam wanted to play, so I picked him up. I put him on a stool, brought his little guitar, and I fretted the chords so he could strum along with Mark Roberge and OAR.
I mean, he still talks about it, yeah.
Jack, I want to mention something that, I'm not one to kiss and tell, but you do remember that Allie threw herself at me when we were in Iceland.
I remember.
She threw herself at me.
I don't remember that even a little bit. I don't. There's no.
I'm a gentleman.
I have thousands of pictures.
I'm a gentleman.
Don't recall that at all.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It made me gay. I mean, for crying out loud. After that.
Wow.
Believe me, had you said yes, you wouldn't be gay. I love you. I miss you. And who knows what the next chapter will be. Maybe you'll rejoin us.
I'm used to waking up at 3 a.m., so hi.
That's fair.
There you go. So we'll see. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Bilingual Allie on the Jack Diamond Morning Show.
Now, Mix 107.3 Traffic.
This traffic report is sponsored by Panera Bread.